Welcome to Pure Mind Magic, the show to evolve your mind. Our mind is the most powerful thing we have, but no one teaches us how to use it. When we find out how, we're ready to create magic in life and in business. Learn real mindset secrets from brilliant minds around the world to change your mindset and income level forever. With every decision you make, you create your future. What is your next move? Now, welcome your host, international magician, speaker, and podcast performance consultant, Jennifer S. Royal.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the interview Friday of Pure Mind Magic. If you're new here, please make sure to subscribe so you won't miss any of the new upcoming episodes. Today on the show, I have K Money. Yes, you heard that right. This is his nickname. His normal name is Ken. And there's, of course, a story to how he got this name. Ken was working on Wall Street and learned there a ton about how to deal with money and how to trade. And he packaged this all up and made the transition into trading and day trading, and is now helping people around the world with his coaching programs to teach them on how to trade correctly with minimum risk to get the maximum out of your investment. So Ken will today explain how to get into trading, what you need, how much money you need to get started, and what other courses he offers online where you can learn trading in a very short amount of time. So he was talking about just 14 days and you are ready to trade as a side hustle from home or even doing that full time. So there are a lot of options and we will also talk about options. So funny here. And I'm sure you will learn a lot from this interview. At least I definitely did. And I got some great insights into the whole Wall Street business as well. So prepare to gain some new knowledge. And here is for you from New York, K Money. Hi, Ken. Welcome to Pure Mind Magic.
Hi. How are you? Thanks for having me.
Very good. I'm happy that you be my guest today. It's always amazing to have someone from New York and especially talking about money with someone from New York. So how are you today?
I'm doing good. Early day, but it's typical for us.
Right, thought so, because I was wondering why you picked like 1 p.m. European time. So I thought you must get up very early. So maybe can you give us some clues why it is so important in your area to get up so soon?
Okay, well, so again, my name's Ken. I go by the name K Money. It's actually a nickname that some of my friends gave me. I used to work on Wall Street. As a trader, and now I actually teach people how to trade in the financial market. So the market actually opens at 9:30. So I actually picked this time because once 9:30 hits, everything goes crazy for about an hour or so.
That's interesting. And can you give us some insights on the story, how you ended up with the name Ken Money? I think that's pretty cool and has a cool frequency, but...
Yeah, so it's K Money. My friends, when we were working on Wall Street, in the office, a lot of us, we started giving each other different nicknames. So basically, because everyone would always come to me in terms of what the best trading ideas were. They started calling me Money, and then they just started calling me K Money, so it just ended up sticking. So after Wall Street, a lot of people, they always noticed that on my email and anything like that, I would sign my name with the letter K and then a $sign, and everyone was like, what does this mean? So I said, yeah, that was my nickname. My nickname's K Money. So it's just something that ended up sticking while I was on Wall Street. So I still use that as my nickname today.
That is awesome. So that has really a good vibe, I think, evolving around money and talking about money. So, okay, can you tell us a little bit how it was like really working in or on Wall Street? Because I think most people just know it from films like Wall Street or Wolf of Wall Street. So,
Yeah.
how does reality look like there?
So reality is really different depending on where you decide to work. So from my experience, I ended up working for this really large company called Pershing. They're actually in the UK as well. They have an office. They have offices here in the US as well. It was one of the it's the largest clearing firm in the world. Now they're owned by Bank of New York. After that, I ended up working on Wall Street. I got licensed, and everyone always has this has the stigma that in order to work on Wall Street, you need to come from a very large Ivy League school like Harvard, but that's actually not the case. When I started working on Wall Street, I was actually kind of surprised that many people that I worked with, they came from local colleges, even community colleges. Some of them actually even didn't go to college. They started working on Wall Street straight out of high school, and they started building their reputation up there. But it was actually a lot of fun. I always say that the places that I worked at, I don't know if you ever saw that TV show called The Office with Steve Carell, but it was a mix between The Office and the movie Boiler Room. So it's really interesting and a lot of fun.
Wow, yeah, that sounds fascinating and interesting that it isn't that hard to get in. So, can maybe when there's someone listening right now, what would you say? What are the first steps to get into Wall Street and actually working there?
So, I mean, here's the interesting part. I didn't really have the intention of working on Wall Street. When I was in high school, I was actually working part-time for Pershing, and it was just a way to bring in some additional money. While I was in college, I didn't know what I wanted to do. I actually didn't decide until my final year that I was going to start working in psychology, and I wanted to be an ABA therapist working with autistic children. But as I was coming closer to graduating, I realized that I couldn't get a job working in ABA therapy. I needed either a master's degree only to make $20 an hour, or I needed to spend 6 more years in school getting a PhD in order to make $200,000 or more a year. So I was kind of stressed out. I was like, oh my God, what am I going to do? So I was actually watching my favorite movie at the time, which was Boiler Room. And I don't know if you saw the movie, but it was about this guy. He was running like this illegal casino out of his apartment, and one of his old friends shows up and gets him introduced to Wall Street, and he gets a job there. So I said to myself, well, I could do this. I know how to trade. So I went online. I looked for jobs, looking for a stockbroker trainee. And I was actually kind of surprised to see how many were showing up. So I just went on a bunch of different interviews. The interviews are also completely different from what you would expect a typical interview to be. But I landed a job I landed multiple job offers, and I just ended up picking one that I liked the most. And from there, it was a lot of hard work. You don't make much money up front. You actually make under minimum wage up front. But it's a lot of training, and if you can set your mind to it, then it ends up being extremely easy once you get past that initial hurdle.
Wow, that sounds so interesting, and especially that you brought in the mind. And this show is all about mindset and how to shift your mind to getting new and different results. So before we move into trading and what you're doing now, what would you say, looking back, are the 3 best things around money you learned from working in Wall Street?
So I think some of the best things were people need to realize that you're not going to get rich overnight. I think a lot of people have this in their head that, oh, I'm going to be a millionaire in a week, but it's not the case. Once in a while, you may end up getting lucky, and you might make a ton of money inside of a short time frame. Such, for example, this guy in my group, he opened a new account. He's been with me since October. So he started a fresh account about a week ago with $2,000, and I think right now it's worth about $12,000. So he made $10,000 in a week using only $2,000. So things like that. Sometimes you do end up having a little bit of luck involved, but I think one of the biggest things when it comes to money is a lot of people take for granted risk management. When I end up teaching people how to trade on trade in the stock market, a lot of people, they think of it more like gambling, more like a casino, where they try to throw everything on and hope for the best. And I always say, well, if you lose your money, then you don't have that opportunity to move forward and try to make more.
That makes definitely sense, yes.
Hmm.
Do you have another tip or something you learned about money?
Yeah, and I would say the third one would probably be, if you're going to end up turning this into whether it's bringing money for supplemental income or replacing your income, I always tell people that you need to treat it like any other job, because you're putting your money at risk. So you need to be responsible with it, just like when you go out and you know how much money you have in the bank and you need to budget. The same thing works as well on trading. You want to make sure that you're always budgeting how much you're putting into every trade. You don't want to go too crazy on one or ignore some of them. You need to take every opportunity that you see.
Great. So obviously you really learned a lot from working there and were able to make the transition now into trading. And we know that not everyone has the possibility to be in New York and actually work in person in Wall Street. But thanks to the internet and the option of trading, it is like everyone could be part of the game and trade from their home or wherever in the world they are. So can you give us a short introduction on what trading actually is and how you can get involved?
Sure. So, I mean, when people talk about trading, a lot of people, they automatically think stock market. But there are so many different ways that you can end up making money. I've traded in pretty much every market. So it's not just about stocks, but there are also things known as options, which are contracts on stocks, the rights to buy and sell stocks by certain expirations. That's where I tend to focus the most. Everyone has their own opinion in terms of what they like. I mean, you can trade foreign currencies, like you can trade the euro, the US dollar, the Japanese yen. You can trade the rupee. You can trade pesos. And then, there's also cryptocurrency. You have people trading Bitcoin, Ripple, and there's so many other cryptocurrencies out there that are lesser known, but you can pretty much make money in any market. It's all about finding your niche and seeing which one you prefer the most. I don't mind trading any of them, but for me, I tend to focus the most on options. Options, they again give you the right to buy or sell stock for certain prices by certain expiration dates. So one of the benefits to trading options is you don't need a whole lot of money in order to make money. When people jump into the stock market, I would say you probably need at least $30,000 to $50,000 to make a pretty good income every month. But if you're trading options or even cryptocurrency or foreign currency, you don't really need that much. You can start with something as little as $1,000, and you can end up making several $1,000s a month doing it.
That sounds really smart and kind of easy to get started. And that was actually my next question. So how much money would you need to really get the ball rolling? So what about the system software platform? So what do you need on the technical end to get into trading?
So when people think of trading, they always automatically think you need a supercomputer with 10 screens in front of you and crazy stuff like that. The funny thing is, working on Wall Street and being around professionals, most professionals don't even have that. A lot of people that are working on Wall Street, they only have 1 or 2 screens in front of them. I've only seen maybe one person that had 3 screens in front of them, but for the most part, people only have 1 or 2. Once you start getting comfortable, and if you want to do this as your main source of income, you can even do it off of your cell phone. All you really need is you need to find a broker, a discount broker, and there are several. They only charge a couple of dollars for every transaction, and they provide you with the software that you need in order to get started. And it's extremely simple. A lot of people think it's hard, but I've taught people how to trade quickly and trade efficiently in as little as 2 weeks.
Wow, that sounds almost magical to get into this whole game so quickly. And I know that there are a lot of seminars out there, even here in Europe, where you have like this weekend and people teach you something. But I think it can be really overwhelming, as well as when you start reading books or just taking online courses on the subject. And I know, Ken, that you offer this one-on-one coaching for people who are really interested in starting out with $1,000 and making a couple of $1,000s out of them, and this even in 2 weeks. So how can they reach out to you, connect with you, and get into your coaching program?
So we have a website. It's kmoneygroup.com. We also have a Facebook group. Facebook group, again, completely free. You can sign up there. It's $K$trading. And once you get in, we have a ton of resources. We have a ton of files where you can read about trading. But in the courses that I end up teaching, I break everything down into an extremely easy to understand method. So even if you have absolutely no knowledge in the market, I can get you trading right away.
Wow, that sounds really so cool. So it's so motivational, I have to say. And let's see, because a lot of people in my audience are very busy. They are high achievers. They are really in business and doing a lot of things. So when we look into the other thing you have to invest, that is time. So the resource of time. What would you say when you have the $1,000 or more, but how much time does it cost to get started and make that money out of trading?
Okay, so here's the thing. A lot of people, they always think that it's going to take you several months or years to get started and understand everything. Now, depending on which way you take in order to learn, whether you're reading books or searching the internet or anything like that, if you decide to go that way, a lot of people don't understand that most of these books and most of these free videos that you find online, they're all just marketing gimmicks. These are things just to get you interested and get you through the door to sign up, or get you to lose money first and then say, all right, maybe I need to find someone who can teach me, and go that way. But there are a couple of people that I don't know if you've noticed, but there are so many people online now that offer to teach, but none of them have the Wall Street credentials, or none of them have the Wall Street experience. I've probably seen 100 people over the last couple of years who offer to teach, and only maybe 2 out of that 100 have actually ever worked on Wall Street. So if you want to find someone, you need to find someone who has the actual experience that worked on Wall Street, and stick to them. A lot of people, they jump back and forth. They'll find like 3, 4, or 5 different people that teach, and they don't understand that everyone has their own way and how they do things. So if you go to 3 or 4 or 5 different people, you're going to have them all telling you something different. So you really need to find one person and just stick to them. But when it comes to teaching, I can get someone started extremely quickly. I have a lot of friends who wanted to transition out of their jobs and start doing this full time. So what we would do is we would actually meet whenever they had time. Sometimes it would be 1 or 2 hours on the weekend, and in a couple of weeks they were trading efficiently, making several $100s a day.
Wow, that is really amazing, and I can imagine that you are really good in teaching, looking back at all this experience. So let's talk a little bit about risks. So how high are the risks that you really lose your $1,000 you're starting out with?
So a lot of people will always come to me and they'll ask me, well, how much can I start with? Can I start with $100, $200, $1,000? And I always say, well, if you're talking about the minimum that you should start with, I always say you should start with maybe $1,000 or $2,000. And then it comes down to risk management. With what I deal with, again, I trade options. Everything ends up having an expiration date. So there's a chance that whatever you end up putting into each trade, you can lose 100%, but you can make a lot more than 100%. So there are some trades that we have done where we've made 1,500% in 2 days. And I always tell people it's all about risk management. So if you know that you can lose 100%, then you need to make sure that whenever you take profit on a trade, that you're definitely making more than 100%. So we look for these. So if we're talking about trades that go out a couple of days, we're looking for these trades that can bring in several hundred or 1,000%. And then, of course, there's day trading. Day trading means you buy and sell the same day. You have a lot less of a chance of losing 100% when you're day trading. Everyone always has a stigma that, everyone who does day trading, they end up going broke. Well, that's not the case. I have a lot of people that I end up teaching who are day trading full time for a living. And you're only really working maybe 2 hours a day, maybe less, and you're bringing in several hundred or several $1,000s a day doing it.
Very cool. So let's talk about time from a different angle here. So depending on where in the world you are, what are the active hours per day that you have to kind of work or trade? So what time frame are we speaking of?
So I always tell people that when it comes to trading, you don't really have to put in the full hours from the market open to the market close. So for example, here, the US markets open at 9:30 a.m. and they close at 4 p.m. So everyone thinks that you need to sit in front of your computer all day. But that's not the case. I always say if you don't have the time and you do want to end up getting started, you really only have to focus on the last maybe 10 minutes of the market hours. And if you wanted to end up doing this as a full-time job and doing day trading, you only really have to focus on the first hour and maybe last hour of market hours. For me, most of the time, I'll start at 9:30 when the market opens, and I'll be finished trading by 10:30 or 11 o'clock, about 80% of the time.
Great. And we are talking about Eastern time here, right?
Correct.
Good. So just to clarify that up. And Ken, maybe there's someone listening who is a little bit more advanced, like let's say someone who's already trading, whether it's day trading or trading in another way. So are you able to help them as well, like have another coaching program to take them to the next level?
Yeah, so here's the funny thing. I have a lot of people who have been trading for several decades. And some people, they think, well, I've been doing this for a long time. What else can I really learn? And the thing is, when you end up getting a fresh perspective from someone else who's been doing this for a long time and who's been doing this professionally, you tend to get a lot of new ideas, or sometimes you actually realize that maybe you've been taught incorrectly. For example, there's this one guy in my group. He's taken a lot of courses with me, and he was telling all of his friends, and he was telling me that he's gone through maybe 5 different people over the last several decades that he's learned from. And he told me that when he ended up learning from me, he realized that people had been teaching him backwards. So it's really good to find someone who actually has experience, because sometimes these people that don't have the experience, and when they're teaching you, they may not be teaching you correctly. You might as well just go online and try to find some free resources instead.
Good idea. So let's make the transition and talk about your courses or classes. I saw on your website that you offer several of them. So what can people expect from learning with these courses?
Okay. So a lot of times people, they'll see these different names and they'll get overwhelmed. A lot of people, as soon as they start seeing these courses, how much time or how much money they cost or anything like that, people go, oh my God, I don't know where to start. And you can always message us and ask us, or just be upfront and say, all right, I have 0 experience. I don't know what to do. Where should I go? And that's the best way to start. Just being upfront and honest, and we'll lead you in the right direction. As for teaching, we actually use this technique called the Feynman Technique. Basically, you break everything down into a very simple to understand method, the same way that you would teach a child. And when you end up breaking it down in such a simple and easy to understand way, everything just falls into place. So most of the people that I've taught who are friends and family, most of them have had 0 experience in the market. So, you end up teaching them from the start. And it's actually easier teaching someone who has little or no experience, because you can end up cutting out all the fat and say, all right, you're just going to do this, this, and this, and no one has any questions. But if you have someone who's been doing it for several months or several years, they tend to have a lot more questions, because it's harder for them to let go. A lot of people, they think about how much time they've invested into something, learning a different way, and they don't want to let go of it. They go, well, I've been doing it this way for so long. I don't want to let go of it. So there's actually one of the guys who works for me. He's actually only 18. He just turned 18 in December. He's actually been trading for a couple of years. He read about, I think, 140 trading books. and he had specific methods that he liked to follow. But earlier this year, the market was very turbulent. There was a lot of indecisiveness in the market, and the way that he learned through books stopped working all of a sudden. So he came to me and he asked me if I can help him out. So I said, all right, well, I'll teach you, but I'm going to teach you extremely quickly. All you need to do is I need you to forget everything that you've learned before. You've read over 100 books, and that's going to be the hardest part. Just forget everything. So he said, okay. So he completely left all of that behind, started doing it my way. And now he day trades. He makes several $1,000s per day. I think in the last couple of weeks, he made like $15,000 in one day.
Wow, that's really impressive.
Yeah.
So it is possible.
Yeah, it is possible.
Nice. So to recap here, it's not a shame when you get started and have no clue at all about trading. So you can take people from scratch to becoming a professional trader. And as I see, it's possible to do that as a side hustle when you are still in your day job, as well as making the transition and turn that into a full-time business, right?
Yeah, we actually end up getting a lot of people that are still working who end up learning in their spare time. So I end up doing a lot of courses. I break it down into such simple to easy understand methods that a lot of my courses are as short as 30 minutes. And I know people that are listening, especially people who have been doing it for a long time. They're probably thinking, what can I learn in 30 minutes? That's like nothing. but yeah, if you actually come and check out the Facebook group, a lot of people, they talk about the courses and they say, wow, you break down extremely complicated topics and you make them seem extremely simple. So I use a lot of analogies whenever I teach. I show a lot of examples, and we're actually rolling out a bunch of new courses in June, where the courses are actually going to contain recordings of live video while we're trading. So you can actually see whatever we're teaching in action.
That is really helpful. I think when you get familiar with all the systems and actually seeing you doing it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Because when you end up reading it or you watch videos on it online, it ends up basically just being, I don't want to say hearsay, but it's basically all theory, because everyone will always have an idea, but until you see that idea in practice, that's when things actually become amazing. A lot of the people that I've taught, sometimes they end up looking at me and saying, well, why would you do this? This doesn't make any sense. And then once they see it in action, they go, wow, I can't believe you're right. It works. and there's so many different things that you can learn depending on how far you want to go with it. You don't have to learn everything that I know in order to make a lot of money doing it. I've had people that I've taught who've been doing it for years. They end up taking one course, and the one course changes their entire way of trading, where they'll focus on just that one technique, and that's all they'll do. They'll just work for 30 minutes using that one technique, and that's it. They'll work one day a week for 30 minutes, and that's it.
That's then really magical. So, Ken, from the approach, what would you say? Is it necessary that you are good in math, or is it more about having a good intuition? What skill set would take you to success?
So whenever people talk about trading, everyone thinks, all right, you have to be extremely good in math, which isn't the case. When I was working on Wall Street, I actually knew a lot of people on Wall Street who didn't even graduate college. And their math was horrible. For me personally, my math is okay. It's not great. It's all right. Um, I mean, it's not required. Maybe a little basic algebra, but still, even then, it's not really required. Even intuition is. I always say intuition is the worst thing that you can have when it comes to trading. Whenever we break things down, we always make everything as mechanical as possible. So when I teach people, if I can't break it down and put it onto a flow chart where it's like, all right, if this happens, then we do this. If this happens, we do this. If this happens, we do this. If I can't put that down on a single piece of paper when I teach someone, then it's not good. So we make everything extremely mechanical. So if everything's extremely mechanical and you say, all right, well, if this happens, I take this path, then when you go back and look at your trades, you know exactly why you got into a trade, why you got out of a trade, why the trade didn't work, and so on. And it's really about making everything mechanical and making sure that you learn from your mistakes. You know why something didn't work out, whether it was something that just happened in the market or if it was something on your part. So a lot of times whenever I end up teaching and I go back to one of the trades I make, I can look at a chart and I'll say, all right, well, I know exactly when I got into this trade. I know why I got into this trade, and I can just pick up from it. So once you end up turning everything mechanical, it's really all about making sure that you're disciplined, that you pull the trigger on the trade whenever it happens. I always say that most people, that's their hardest part, because some days we have easy days where things just go smoothly and we're done trading in 30 minutes or 45 minutes and we made money on every single trade. But on some days, it might be a little difficult where you might not make as much money. You might only make, I don't know, $50 or a couple $100 or whatever. And it ends up being a lot more work. And when it ends up being a lot more work, I think they end up getting mentally exhausted. And they go, oh, I don't know what I should do. And I always tell them, I say, well, it's just like I said, just like a job, you just stick through it. Some days are easy days, some days are hard days, but just go through it. And at the end of the day, you'll come out ahead.
Very nicely said. So, Ken, last question I have on my mind for our interview today. Would there also be like an option to get you as a broker, like handing you over a sum of money and getting you done the work for people, for investors?
Okay. So, I actually get asked that question a lot. So, it's like a yes and no question. So I can't take people's money or manage an account for them because I'm no longer working on Wall Street. You need to have an active license in order to do that. But we do have, if you go to the website, we have what's called text message alerts. So we have multiple subscriptions people can sign up for where they can follow all of my trades. So I actually run 4 different ones. I have a day trade stream, which runs every day during market hours. And I tell people exactly which trades I'm getting into, the price I paid, and when I ended up getting out. And then I have 3 that are called the 30K challenge. Basically, we started all the accounts with $2,000. And the goal is to get them to $30,000 as fast as possible using different techniques. And you get text message alerts whenever we open and close a trade. So you can actually follow the trades and copy them if you want. And once we hit $30,000 on those accounts, we end up donating all of the money to charity.
Wow, that is really a great approach. You're doing that. So you're serving many people there with your knowledge and then with the money you make. So yeah, I really appreciate that. And maybe you can repeat once again your website where everyone listening can find out more about the courses you offer and also about your Facebook group, as well as the one-on-one coaching to learn directly from you how to get into trading and make money from trading in a very short amount of time.
Sure. So the website again is kmoneygroup.com. And our Facebook group is K$trading. And once they get in, they can always send an email, or they can always message me or one of the people that work with me, and we'll get them started and point them in the right direction.
Great. Thanks for sharing that. And now for the end, we were talking a little bit about the mind, and we all know that the mind plays a huge role when it comes to money and building wealth. So it's not really about the money. It's more about your mindset and how you approach it. So to leave the listeners for today in an inspired mood, can you share some great advice on a money mindset or solving money blocks or whatever comes to your mind right now?
So I mean, when it comes to money, I always tell people that there's always money to be made. Whenever you're feeling down because you're overwhelmed about something, whether it's something involved with trading or something in your personal or business life, I always say, don't worry about money going out, because there's always several different opportunities for money to come in.
Okay, Ken. So we got the interview. Very good.
All right. Thank you. Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. So we're done recording. I ended it already. So I think that was really a great interview. So awesome insights into the whole trading business. I think this interview will do very well, and I will air it very soon with all your links, and then also share it with all my LinkedIn contacts so that you get the best exposure.
Oh, great. Thank you.
You're welcome.
So, whenever you can, I guess just send it to me, and I'll also share it with everyone that I know.
Very good. Cool.
Thanks.
So we created something special today, and then I wish you now a magical money day when the gates open in New York. And when there's a possibility and you could leave a feedback on Fiverr for this gig, that would really help.
Sure.
I don't know if you still can do it. I hope you can. Then, this would help me with the interviews. And I think it would be great if we can stay in touch, because it's really interested what I learned today from you. And, I'm interviewing a lot of people, and I always have in mind from my guests when it makes sense to connect them to each other. I do that.
Oh, sounds great.
Cool, Ken. So then thanks again for sharing your wisdom, and we'll talk soon.
All right. Thanks. Talk to you soon.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye.
Ladies and gentlemen, thanks for joining me today with the interview with Ken Money. Make sure to check out his website, his courses and coaching offers in case you are interested in trading. And when you like the episode, or there's someone where you think this episode might help, please go ahead and share this episode on social media via email, or just sending out the link. And you can also tag Pure Mind Magic if you like. And as I said, when you're new, please subscribe to the show. That helps to support the show and grow it bigger, and coming up with new amazing episodes for you completely for free. All for now. I wish you a fantastic weekend, and until next time, create some magic.